To say thank you guys for coming out this afternoon to our speed mentoring event. Last semester, we were brainstorming about ideas, and we said, a lot of people are into like speed dating, right? So let's do something that's a little bit that's similar to the concept, but that focuses on mentoring. And I talked with Cindy, and she said, I already do some kind of stuff like that. So I'd be happy to partner with you guys and do that workshop for you guys. So we're very excited. This is our second event for the semester. A couple of weeks ago, we had a MAP meet and greet. And so today, you guys are going to experience some speed mentoring. I think it's going to be really, really fun. For those of you who don't know Cindy Lynch is the Director of Fellowships and Professional Development at Graduate College. And I told some of the students earlier, she knows all there is to know about fellowships, about funding, and for developing students into not only kind of industry, but also for faculty positions as well. She's a great supporter of students. I think all of us probably know her, or if you don't already, then we will definitely come to know her because she's a great supporter of all student activities. So thank you, Cindy, for agreeing to do this for us today. And thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm really excited to be here. My background, just to let you know, I did my first degree here over in the vet school. I'm a registered veterinary technician. But my second degree is in animal sciences, my bachelor's degree. And then I spent 10 years over in the animal sciences department managing the meat lab over there. You might know it as the Boilermaker Butcher Block, that area. So I did that for 10 years and then went over to the graduate school. So my roots are still strong and deep in agriculture. I came from a farm background. Most of my family still farms, and I just spent the weekend there helping with some of the harvest and filling silo and things. So I still really appreciate my beginnings here in animal sciences. What I want to talk about today, how I set these up, is I'm going to give you some technical information. I say technical information, some background information on networking, some strategies, tactics that you can think about prior to doing a speed networking activity. And then I will encourage you to go practice these networking activities outside of our venue today. So the four areas I want to talk about today are skills, what I call a CARS impact statement, your professional identity, as well as developing a networking agenda, and then how to implement that. So let's get started. If you want more information and updates and things on professional development types of things, we also post funding announcements on here. Join us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those types of things, both the graduate student professional development, and also I would encourage you as part of our networking to connect with me on LinkedIn. So with that, who likes to network? Okay, so most of you do. I'm in the minority here because I absolutely hate networking, or at least I used to. The idea of going to some place and talking with strangers about the weather or whatever was going on, small talk, I hated it. And in fact, to the point where oftentimes I didn't. Missed opportunity for me. So I started talking with one of my mentors about this, and he pointed out, well, not only is it a missed opportunity, but you're wasting money. He knows my penchant for being financially savvy, so that really kind of perked my interest up, because the conferences I was going to, part of that is this networking event, and if I'm not participating in it, I'm not fully utilizing the resources available to me, not to mention what the university was putting into me. So I developed a few strategies working with him on this, but I started with asking this question: what is networking? What is the point and the purpose of this? Why would we want to do this? Any thoughts? Those of you who like to network, why do you network?
I enjoy learning about the work that other people do that work in universities, like the research and stuff like that.
So you like to learn. So you're gaining information by networking. That's one of the key elements of of networking. What else? Anyone else have a different? Pardon?
Potential job opportunity.
Yes, potential job opportunity, either for yourself or students or other people. So then you become a source of information, right? The more you know, you're a source of information. Anything besides those? Social interaction. For those of you who are social, I'm not a social person, so that was one of the reasons I didn't like it. But yes, some people thrive off of meeting other people and being in this kind of hubbub kind of thing. So with this is just a cute little graphic of what networking is. It really is about information exchange. It's about making connections, identifying opportunities, passing on information about yourself, as well as gaining information back from others. Some of those things we've talked about. I would argue what it isn't, and what I've seen some people do, it's not collecting business cards. It's not getting a bunch more likes on Facebook or making a lot of connections on LinkedIn. Those are parts of it, and you can use parts of it, but that's not the focus of it. It's really, to me, about making connections, identifying something in common so that, particularly in cases where you want to follow up with the person. How many of you have met a person, say a top researcher in your field, and then didn't have a reason to contact them later? It was kind of like, well, I want to follow up, but I really don't know what to say. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can address that. So this is one of my favorite sayings. Anybody heard of Jimmy Buffett? No. I'm a Jimmy Buffett fan. But I saw this on his, I think, webpage or something, and it really applied to me when I was thinking about professional development, networking in particular. Searching is half the fun. Life is much more manageable when thought of as a scavenger hunt as opposed to a surprise party. What is this telling us? What's the difference between a scavenger hunt and a surprise party? Right. You're being proactive in a scavenger hunt, right? Surprise party, you're reacting to things around you. Things have been thrown at you, and not to say they're not fun too, but for those of us who have control complexes, then we're much more familiar and comfortable in a scavenger hunt. I love to play games, board games, card games, any type of game out there. Many of us who are in graduate education or in universities like to solve puzzles. We like to figure things out. So scavenger hunts kind of appeal to us as well. So these are probably the three main things that I want to focus on today when it comes to network. Ask open-ended questions. Part of this, as we talked about, is information exchange, getting information back. It's about making connections with those individuals so it's easier for us to follow up with them later on. And it's also about setting goals. So if you think about that scavenger hunt, finding out what it is you need to know, being proactive. Now, in some cases, you're more proactive than others. Like in our networking today, it's not that we have specific goals for today. But if you're going to the conference, spending both time and money to do that, you really want to focus on what it is you want to get out of that sessions. Are there people that you need to meet from a professional development standpoint? Are there people that you need to meet to help advance your research? Identifying who they are and what your goals for that interaction are. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So skill assessment. I do a separate session on this, but I just want to point out, as you're looking for jobs, and particularly using network to find opportunities for you, take a look at this report, and I think it's been updated since then, but these are the top 10 most important skills identified by college employers that come to university campuses. So IRT that they just held yesterday, these are the people that come to campus and recruit bachelor's, master's, and PhD students. They're the ones who respond to this. These are their top 10. These are the top 10 most important skills. These were the top 10 that they were most satisfied with. And then these were the top 10 where they had the biggest gaps. So strong work ethic is an area that they're finding some areas for improvement. Their candidates don't have the kind of work ethic that they're looking for. Same with written communication skills, flexibility and adaptability. They rank number 10 in the 10 most important. And as we'll talk about later, how do you talk about that? What is your evidence of your flexibility and adaptability? And I'm not talking about whether you can do yoga or not. It's flexibility and adaptability in the workplace. How do you describe those if it was asked you during an interview session? So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I threw this in here because those skill sets that I just showed you, they're broad skill sets. Then they break down into these smaller ones. Particularly at the graduate level, master's and PhD, employers are looking for things like your ability to persuade, your ability to justify. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Why is it important? Your ability to describe feelings. Not something I'm overly comfortable with. I don't spend a lot of time describing my feelings to other people or listening to people describe their feelings, how they are, but these are the types of things that are looked for in the workplace, both industry and academia. So let's talk about the professional identity. One of the most common statements used in an interview is this right here. Tell me about yourself. We kind of brush it off sometimes, but what the interviewer is trying to do is get at why should I hire you versus you. If I have one position, what is it that of all my candidates, who's going to best fill that position? So they're trying to eliminate people here. And we're going to talk about how to frame our experiences, but what we're trying to do in a networking situation is exchange information about ourselves, about opportunities, how we might align with opportunities. So you want to think of your portfolio, your resume, your CV, those types of things in two overarching areas, particularly when it comes to your professional identity. The claims that you make about your experience and the evidence that supports those claims. We saw that one of the skill sets that they're looking for is strong work ethic. No one's going to stand up during an interview or during a networking session and say, I have a poor work ethic, hire me anyway. We all stand up there and say, I have a really strong work ethic. I will be there to get the job done. But what evidence do we have that supports that? Because obviously it was number 2 on their gaps. Not everyone has that. They're still looking for that. So what evidence that you have, how do you describe your ability or your competency with a strong work ethic? So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And that's what this is designed to do. This is your evidence, your experience. This is the claims that you made. And so I put discovery and research because as graduate students, the focus is on your research initially. But then we go to other things. If you're applying for a faculty position, we would probably talk about teaching and research then as number 3. Those are the 3 pillars of a faculty career. But what would it be if you're going into industry? What would it be if you're going into, say, a nonprofit or government work? What are those areas that you should be talking about? So now I have a quick activity, and we won't go through all of them, but what I want to do in this activity is identify 3 words. I'm going to flash some logos up here. I want you to think of 3 words or phrases that the company wants you to think about when it comes to their brand. So 3 words that the company is trying to portray about their brand, their service, their company. Then think about 3 words that come to mind based on your own personal experience with that brand. And then what influenced your opinion of them? So Starbucks. What do you think the company is trying to portray here? Quality. What else? If you go to a major city, you see like 2 or 3 of these on one corner, right? Convenience. Not necessarily the case here. We only have, 2 on campus now? One over at the new student center over there, and then the one at the Union. Quality, yeah. Familiarity. We're here in the neighborhood. What about customized experience? They write my name on the cup when I order my drink. How nice is that? But I can go in there and I can say, like, I want 3 shots of this, or skinny something or other. I don't know what all the different things are. But it's customized for me. And then I put my name on it. Or they put my name on it. So what has your experience been with these? With Starbucks? So how many of you have had a Starbucks? Have purchased a Starbucks before, right? Okay. So we've all had one. What has been your experience? What do you think about them?
Well, looking at the logo, what pops out is like royalty almost, because of this, like the star, you see the crown, you feel like unique, special.
Right. So they do make you feel unique and special. How many of you get one of these every day? I don't, because I can't, handle the line. I have no patience to stand in that line, and I don't have the time. Because there is a long line, right? Because it's this customized experience for me, it's not just here you are. What else? So Brittany has formed some loyalty to them, right? Because you're there almost every day. Why do some of you others not go there every day? Cost. I went there the other day and I ordered my drink, and it used to be like $5 or something. It was over $6 for what I ordered. I almost told him to take it back. I'm like, what is different here? I won't take it back because it's customized for me. You know, it's my own special drink now. So those are some of the things, right? And we all have formed different experiences with this. So that's Starbucks. What about this one? Low prices. That's what they're trying to communicate, right? Low prices. What else? And this is from the company perspective, what they're trying to communicate. One-stop shopping. I can get everything there. Pardon? Yeah, wide range of almost everything. What else? Something they have in common with Starbucks, I think. Like one in every neighborhood. Yeah. We have, 3 or 4 of them here in West Lafayette now? Or Lafayette, West Lafayette area? Your neighborhood one-stop shop. So what is your personal experience with them?
Good or bad?
Good or bad? Yes, this is the point of it. It's good or bad. Right. Never enough lane. I'm with you on that. They do evoke a certain amount of loyalty, right? Because for the most part, I can get what I need and more. This was my issues with it. And more than what I need. Because the place is so big. And of course, I always need something that's in the back corner, and I identify 5 or 6 other things that I think I need. Wouldn't that be great to have? And before I know it, the 3 things that I came in there for are now at 10 or 15, and I can't go through the express checkout lane anymore, right? So what are some of, so here we have McDonald's, right? How many of you been to McDonald's? Why do we go to McDonald's? Well, so what is the company trying to convey here? Because you guys know that the current CEO of McDonald's is a Purdue alum? Yes? What is McDonald's trying to convey? Quality. Fast. Consistency. Affordable. The convenience. What has been your experience with them?
Good French fries.
Yeah. You were sir. So employability, right? Yeah, product's pretty consistent. I have to say my dad likes McDonald's way more than Subway. Not a fan of Starbucks either, is he? Because he just wants to go in there and get a sandwich. And you start asking what you want on your sandwich. I don't care, I just need a sandwich. Subway, he will not frequent. They ask him too many questions. Just give me, he loves McDonald's. He can point, I want a number 7, and it's sent out to him. No extra questions. That's it. Family friendly too, right? One of your first experiences with McDonald's was probably as a kid. I want to feel that I've graduated from this experience now, but I still frequent McDonald's quite a bit because of the convenience. Well, here's another one. So I'm seeing our time here. I'm going to go through these now, but you kind of get the sense of what the activity is about, right? We form opinions about things based on our experience. They may align with what the company is trying to do or not. Mickey Mouse. The customer is always right, right? It's about the customer experience. The Olympics. Easily recognizable. Oh, what about this one? How many of you will own one of these? What does this portray, or what are they trying to portray? Quality, luxury, success, right? If you own one of these, you've made it. I work at Purdue. I will probably never own one of these. When y'all do, call me up. We're going to be friends on LinkedIn. I'd love to go for a ride with you and your status symbol here, right? So think about these things. Our opinion was of these. There's something that the company is trying to convey, and then our own personal experience based on something about them. So we think something about them based on how we've interacted with them, or in some cases, like Mercedes-Benz, how we haven't interacted with them. We've just seen pictures of them, right? So think about that when it comes to networking as well. What is your brand? What do you want to communicate? It comes back to that professional identity. What is your professional identity? So now I want to talk about what I call CAR statement. It's really just an acronym for how you should, or I would suggest that you frame these, your experiences, particularly when it comes to networking, and you can use these things in interview situations, because in one sense, networking is kind of an informal interview. So one of the reasons I want to talk about this is because in my role as Director of Fellowship, I get a lot of fellowship applications, or see a lot of fellowship applications. And what I see a lot are lists of duties. When I talk to companies, and I talked with a lot of companies yesterday and then today that were here for IRT, and one of their most common comments is the fact that we list duties on our resume. The issue with that is that they're not hiring you to be a graduate student anymore. They want you to be a professional in their organization. They want to see your accomplishments. They want to know what impact you've made. Listing duties, or like I served as a teaching assistant for Ag 101. That's great, but you know what? We don't do a lot of teaching in industry. Are the skill sets that you developed as a TA valuable in industry? Absolutely. But frame it in something that makes sense to them. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So when you have an experience, such as, or have an experience serving as a TA, and you state things like, I graded exams, I took attendance, maybe I developed a lesson plan, things like that, that doesn't translate well as duties into what they're looking for in industry. However, that skill set does. So what did you do as a TA? You graded exams. What are exams? They're assessments and evaluations. As a PhD in industry, there's a likelihood, and maybe even like a master's student, there's a likelihood that you're going to have to do assessments and evaluations on your colleagues or your employees that report to you, your direct reports. When you grade exams, you're taking a look at 80% of the class missed question number 2. So if 80% of the class missed question number 2, what does that mean? You're doing an assessment, right? Do I need it? Was the question written poorly? Did we not cover the material well? What's going on here? So we want to talk about how take our experiences and relate them back to what is going on in industry or in academia. The other issue with listing duties is it doesn't communicate what your impact is. What are your accomplishments? Do you know what they are? Do you know the value that you provide to the organization or to whatever project you're working on? What impact are you giving back? That's another key element that we want to talk about. So we have this acronym, I call it CARS. So try to frame your experiences rather than just listing duties. Talk about the challenge or context, what actions you took, the results obtained, and the skills developed over this or enhanced. So if you're talking about your TA duty, you can say, I supervised 25 students in this lab doing these types of things. At the end of the session, 60% of them, 80%, 95% of them passed with this or higher, or 100% of them passed with a C or higher, whatever the case may be. Discuss this. The thing that has done is given them some visuals of you. They get a sense of how many people you are overseeing. You can also say things like, by the end of the semester, we had covered 100% of the material on time and on task, or whatever the case may be. These are also scenarios. This is also the framework you can use then for answering behavioral type of questions. So it's not just you do this for networking, but you also do it in interviews. It's a better way of, more concrete way of addressing the types of experiences you have. Is this easy? Not at first. It takes a little work to think about these types of things and frame it. But it also helps you get to, this is the value I make. These are the contributions I'm making. These are my accomplishments. So this is just a handout that I have for you to use. I've added these two areas on here for a couple of reasons. To focus on what impact you're doing or making. And then I also include what I call a networking prompt. Sometimes in networking situations we get, particularly if we're not very good at it, we have some people in the group that aren't overly comfortable with it. We give information, but we're not asking a question at the end. I always like to get feedback on some things, so I encourage students to talk about their experience, and then if it's a potential employer or someone who works in industry or might not be the company you're interested in, but you could say something like, so I have experience doing this, and these are the things I've done over time. How does that align with what people within your industry do? That does a couple of things. It asks an open-ended question, so it helps prompt that networking, give that response back. But it also gives you feedback on what you've done to date, some of the things that you've developed. They might say, well, that's great experience. We also look for these types of things. You're getting a little bit more information back about what you need to develop over time then. Okay. So back to your professional identity. So in a networking situation or an interview or such, you're going to have just a few minutes to cover some things about yourself. I have 5 listed on here. You don't need to do all 5. And when you develop your portfolio and stop to think about the skills and competencies you have, you might have 20, 30, 40, 50 of these. But in any one situation, you're probably only going to cover 2 or 3 of these. Think about what they are. Don't limit yourself, but think about what they are. Come up with some things that really highlight the things that are best about you, particularly as they align to what industry is looking for. Going back to the claims that you make and the evidence that supports that. To help you identify some of the things that companies, and I have companies here, you can do the same thing for academia. Academia, in one sense, is a little bit easier because you have the 3 pillars and they're kind of defined for us. But you also want to specify it based on the type of institution you're going to. But look at, what are your top 10 companies? Do you have those? What kind of positions do they hire for? The ones that are immediately available to you and maybe 5 or 10 years down the road. I was just talking with one of the recruiters over dinner last night. And so I told him about this activity. I said, so in addition to looking at the job announcements to see what's available to you, I also encourage them to take a look at the other types of positions that are being hired for. Who are you going to be working with? What skill sets and competencies do they need to have? How would you communicate with them? Talking with the suppliers and service providers. This individual is also saying when he goes to trade shows, he talks a lot with vendors. He does a lot of networking with vendors and things in the trade shows because he can get information about the company. How well it's doing, are they paying their bills on time, are they responsive to needs, do they know what's going on within the industry. Same thing with clients, customers, all that. Identify some job descriptions as well. Same type of thing. What skills are needed now? What do they desire? What do you have? What do you need to develop on? And I bring these up because these are the types of things when you're in a networking situation you want to talk about, ask about. Same thing with career role models. Who are the people that have jobs like you would like to have? What experiences and competencies do they have? What did they use to get where they are now? They're not going to be identical, but you can kind of follow up with them. Let's skip that. So then, coming back to my scavenger hunt, so since I got tired of what I call idle chit-chat and talking about the weather all the time, I came up with what I call these networking frequently asked questions. And these are questions that I just have developed that I can kind of pull out of my back pocket at any point in time. These are some examples, and I have some for different scenarios that are tailored more towards different venues. But think about, what are those questions that you want to know from someone? You're already doing this. It's very common for us to be in a situation like this, and you might ask, so what's your major? We have a common connection here already because we're all here at Purdue University. So you started doing these things already, but just think about what are those questions that you want to ask. How do you follow up? What do you want to tell them about yourself? And these are just some examples. What qualities do successful employees in your organization have? One of the individuals I was talking with recently, he works for ExxonMobil, has a PhD in electrical engineering, and he's been tapped by his company to serve as the United Way person. He's going to be stationed with United Way for the next 3 to 6 months. Now, he loves this opportunity. He was very much a community service-oriented individual growing up, and even in his graduate work here and what he's done afterwards. So I asked him, and he said, what made it really special for him is they tapped him. It wasn't something that he applied for and he got. They came to him. His supervisors, United Way, they came to him. And so I asked him, how do they know that? Because this is a key thing. Once you get that job, how do you let other people know you do good work? And it kind of comes back to networking. This process of communicating information and identifying what opportunities are available. So these are just some other ones, but the concept of this is these questions that you can just pull out at any point in time. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but pay attention to your nonverbal cues, how you stand, how you dress, how you treat other people as they're standing in line. The handshake is still a very important thing, even though I'm seeing it, I guess, a little less frequently, particularly during cold and flu season now. But if you are going to do a handshake, practice a handshake. I got this the other day from somebody. This is how they extended their hand. What is that? I felt like I should coach you or something, you know. I'm like, it was from a guy, so that was even, I had no idea what to do. So practice those things. That's very common here in the U.S. to have a handshake. Again, with the caveat of cold and flu season, but practice that, and then check your obsessive compulsive behaviors. Even videotape yourself, if you will, doing a class lecture or in a situation where you're just chatting with other people to see what your expressions are. How do you hold yourself? How do you interact with other people? I don't have any pockets, but people who do that jangling of the coins and things in their pockets, really, really annoying. People who say a lot, or you don't need those fillers. We're all guilty of, well, I'm certainly guilty of, I shouldn't say we all are. Monitor those and see if you can work on that a little bit. Present an enthusiastic persona, show confidence, stand straight, articulate. This is something that's really hard to do, particularly in some of our networking situations, because of the venue. There's a lot of noise maybe, you can't be heard, and for those of us who do not talk loud in general, it can be a challenge. If other people can't hear you though, they're less likely to want to engage with you. So with that, let's do a little speed networking. So the intent of this activity, so what we've learned is we want to make connections, right? We should have some goals set for ourselves if we think about this, and we're not going to have a lot of time here. And the goal shouldn't be to meet as many people as possible. The goal should be to identify something in common with that person, assuming this is, say, a conference within your discipline. How would you approach someone else? Maybe your goal today is just to practice and get feedback on your handshake. So then you go around and introduce yourself to people. How are you introducing yourself? What kinds of things are you saying that might help them remember something about you? What's going to make you unique? So I'll give you a couple minutes to think about that, and then we're going to get up and interact with one another. Okay? Everyone have what they want to say? Okay, so what we're going to do is, and the other thing, and I probably don't need to tell you guys this, but you do want to monitor. It needs to be something significant, but you don't want to launch into a 15-minute oratory about yourself here. The intent of this is information exchange. There's a book out there, and some of you may have read it. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. If you haven't read it, I would really suggest that you read it. It's from like 1984 or something, but it's still a really powerful book that they're using still used today. So I'd encourage you to read that. But in there, Dale Carnegie talks about you need to listen as much as you talk. or if not more. So it should be a two-way here, okay? So identify someone that you want to introduce yourself to, introduce yourself, and then just start talking with them. Kind of find out something about them, if you will. All right? So do you want to go first or do you want me?
You can go.
Okay. Hi, I'm Cindy Lynch. I'm the Director of Fellowships and Professional Development, but most graduate students think of me as the money lady. Okay.
Well, my name is Jennifer Allen. I'm a PhD student in the Food Science Department under Dr. Mario Ferrucci. So right now I'm working on protein polyphenol interactions.
Okay. That's really good. I like that. The handshake was good. Now, if you could give me what protein polyphenol actions means, or like an example of that, or how we could use that, or that would be helpful.
Okay, so like, I guess that's something, like when I go to, like IFT, that's the Institute of Food Technology, so that's kind of like our...
So they would know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they'll understand, well, some of them do, because I found that some people don't.
Right, see, and this is my point, right? Just because they have PhDs in food science,
Right.
you're the expert in what you do, particularly when you finish with your PhD, right?
Yeah.
So don't assume that everyone else, or even if they do, they've been out for a while maybe.
Right.
So that's why these examples are helpful. Kind of, and if you can make it visual.
Okay, yeah. I usually
And it's
do
not
that with
easy.
my friends. I feel like I have to like overly explain things to them. So it's like, well, you know, grapefruit juice or pomegranate juice, and it says antioxidants on it. That's kind of what I'm working on, the antioxidants in the pomegranate juice.
And so that's perfect, because now I've seen grapefruit juice and the word antioxidants. I still don't really know what to do, but I had grapefruit, and I'm probably forever going to know you now as the grapefruit juice lady or the antioxidants.
Right.
But that's what you want them to do. You know, she does something like with grapefruit juice or antioxidants or... Okay. So that's what you're kind of trying to get
Just
at.
have something that they can reference you back to.
And the more visual it is, that helps too. But it is about how do I, because most of us can't even get over the protein poly something.
Right.
You know, that's too many syllables for us to. But you want to use that framework to. That is what you do. Right? And then what they can do then is look you up on LinkedIn. You have your references on LinkedIn about different places that they could go to get more information about your specific research. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that we want to think about and do. Pretty harmless, there wasn't it?
I'm always really nervous about like the whole.
If we could come back and just do a little recap then. So how did you guys like the exercise? Was it good? Did you find some things you might want to work on and kind of focus on? So I was working with Jennifer here. I introduced myself as Cindy Lynch, Director of Fellowships and Professional Development, and I'm known on campus as the money lady for graduate education. Now, I say that, do I have money? I'm not a bank over there, okay? Not in any way, shape, or form. But I serve as a resource. So don't get any ideas of coming over there and asking for. But I do know resources, and so I can point people in different directions. So I was talking with Jennifer. She's food science, and her focus is on protein something or other. Now, my background was meat science. I worked a lot with food science when we were in animal sciences together. But do I really know? I couldn't even say the rest of the word there because there's too many syllables there. But then I I said, so what does that mean? She works on the antioxidants in fruit juice. So now I have this in my memory, Welch's grape juice with antioxidants and her face. That's what I'm remembering about her. Is it 100% accurate or what it is she's trying to communicate? Probably not, but I do remember enough now that I'm going to go find her on LinkedIn and follow her then and get her information that way. I'm never going to remember the protein thing, but I can get that later. We have something, so now anytime I have questions about my grape juice, I'm going to Jennifer. But those are the types of things you want to do. So once you get that initial kind of phrase down and you get your networking prompt, and oftentimes with that networking prompt, I use a question because people are obligated to kind of respond to you if you ask a question, right? Rather than if I said something like, hey, I'm Cindy Lynch, I'm the Director of Fellowships and Professional Development. I'm known as the money lady on campus. If I follow that up with, how many of you want some money? And then I can start engaging. Well, these types of things, or this type of thing, or when I'm talking about my study abroad experience, I would say things like, I didn't have very much international experience. I worked with a faculty member, and then we went and did this, and we got a grant for this. And how many of you would love to do a study abroad and travel for 3 weeks? Then we can engage. Well, have you been somewhere outside the U.S.? So if you start asking the questions, that's, to me, the one difference between an elevator pitch and what I call these car statements or networking frequently asked questions. Is because with an elevator pitch, you're pitching it out there. And you don't know where it's going to go or how it's going to land, if anyone's going to catch it. But if you ask a question back, you're getting some feedback. Any questions from me? We're out of time now. If anyone's interested in the slides, I will send these to Brittany, and she can distribute them.
Let's get Cindy Lynn's hand. Second, so ladies and gentlemen, say a few words. I don't know, attended our events before, but I'm LaVon Esters. I'm assistant professor in the Department of Youth Government and Education, and I'm the director of MAP program. And I have a very good team of individuals. Brittany Brown, who you saw earlier, she's walking around now. She's a PhD student in the department, and then she's one of the coordinators. You have a Monty Martin here. He's the camera guy, the paparazzi. He's a master's student of mine as well, and he's one of the coordinators as well. Then we have an undergraduate student assistant here, Arminda Boyd. She's an undergraduate student in College of Ag. And then Tori Crops, she's another one of my students, a PhD student. So we have and also Dr. Ian Knobloch's not here today, he's the co-director. So we have a very good team of individuals that are here to help you as it relates to mentoring. So I'm glad to see you out here today. I'm glad you took an hour out of your time, spent some time with us. Hopefully you signed in when you came in with your name and email address. You will be added to our list of attendees, and so you will get future information in the future about our future events. In addition, I see that you're completing that evaluation, so we do that. And also, if you have ideas about programs or workshops or seminars you want us to put on, please let us know, because we're here to serve you, not only students and faculty and staff in the College of Ag, but also those across the university. So if you have friends in other departments, whether it's English or engineering or biology, let them know about the program. Share the flyers, the emails that you receive from us with them, and encourage them to come out. Because again, at the end of the day, our goal is very simple, and that is trying to enhance the mentoring that you all receive, or that you're engaged in here at the university. So that's our goal. I'm glad you came out. Again, Cindy Lynch, Ms. Lynch is a great resource. So for those of you who do not know who she was, now you know, now you're connected. So use those connections to your advantage and continue to network as was the thing today. So again, I appreciate it. Have a great rest of the week and a great semester, and we'll see you around. Thank you.